Hey guys, it's Jane. It's Friday today. It's rolled around again. So I'm here for Friday reads. I've actually finished 6 things this week, which is kind of disturbing. But clearly spending a lot of your week curled up in bed is good for one thing at least. So here we go. The first thing I finished this week was Sarai Walker's Dietland. This is weird. According to the author, it was partly, at any rate, inspired by Chuck Palahniuk's Fight Club. It's sort of Fight Club for the ladies. It starts out as a chick lit book. It's got a Plum. We're following Plum, who's a 20-something writer living in New York, working for a teen fashion lifestyle magazine. So you couldn't get much more chick-litty than that. But it very quickly kind of takes a turn down a dark alleyway, and yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. I did kind of enjoy it, but yeah, I did enjoy it. It's completely bloodthirsty, and yeah, it's Plum's journey from unreconstructed diet addict to consciousness raising as part of a kind of terrorist organization called Jennifer. So there you go. I also finished, from the ridiculous to the sublime or whatever, I also read Clarice Lispector's The Hour of the Star. Otavio from the Galilean Library recommended this in his list of Brazilian authors to read. I read the Modern Penguin Classic version, which was translated by somebody, Moser. I'm so sorry. I looked it up and I could remember a minute ago, but it's gone. I'll put it in the description below for you, Michael. And this is short. It's very short. It's sort of a novella. And the interesting thing about it is that it spends almost the first quarter with the narrator talking about getting himself ready to write, because my understanding is that it's written from the perspective of a male narrator. Yeah, that's obvious because he actually talks about the fact that, you know, men and women write differently and stuff like that, and you couldn't lead this kind of story to a female author, despite the fact that the book is actually written by a female author. So it's a bit postmodern, quite postmodern, and a bit trippy, and I did enjoy it. It's not quite my cup of tea, but for kind of literary fiction fans, this is certainly something to look at. It was, the way it was written was really interesting. The introduction to the book talks about the fact that it's been translated numerous times, and there's lots of problems with translating it because she uses non-standard grammar and sentence construction and stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting read, and thank you, Otavio, for suggesting it. I also read God's War by Kameron Hurley, which took me a while to get into. You kind of really got to get your ear in sometimes with sort of secondary world books to the language and the sort of vibe. But once I got into it, I really enjoyed this book. I really, really enjoyed this book. It's set in a world, a colonized world, colonized from Earth, presumably, in the far future, in the middle of a war that's been going on for generations. The planet that this is happening on doesn't really have much contact with other worlds. Aliens appear in the story, and that's quite noted and unusual and surprising. But anyway, it's basically there are these two cultures, these two countries that are fighting each other. There are other countries in the background, but the main story is about this war between these two countries who've been fighting each other for generations. And as the result of that, the male population of both of those countries has been decimated for generations, and therefore the gender relations are completely determined by the fact that there are hardly any men. Most of the characters in the story, not all, but most of the characters in the story are women. Even just that part of it is a really interesting thought experiment. And the other really interesting thing that she's done is that both of these cultures are essentially Islamic cultures, but quite different in versions of Islamic cultures, and they both see each other as heretics, essentially. And that's not the only, but it's a large driving factor in the war, and that's really interesting as well. The main character is this cold-hearted bitch, basically, but I really connected with her. I really enjoyed her points of view, and there is this relationship between her and one of the people on her team who is a magician, and he's from the opposite side of the war, but he's kind of a refugee. And the sexual tension between these two characters is extraordinary. It doesn't seem like there's ever actually going to be, I'd be surprised at the way that it's written if there's actually ever going to be any kind of resolution of that, because stuff between them means that them getting together is really not a very possible thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed that book. I also read the Dirk Gently comic that I waved around last week, and it's enjoyable. This is issue 2 because I'm a doofus. And anyway, Dirk is now living in San Diego, and there's a whole bunch of random stuff. So there's not really enough in a single issue to know whether it's a goer or not, but it's certainly left me thinking that it hasn't been ruined, or at least it's an open question. So yeah, that was positive. The last 2 things that I finished was I read Ancillary Justice and Ancillary Sword. I read both of them because this is the week that Ancillary Mercy comes out, and I actually went and bought myself a copy last night and downloaded it onto my e-reader, so I'm about to start that. So that is what I'm looking forward to reading this weekend. The other thing that I will be reading this weekend, which I'm not especially looking forward to, is this package of papers that I have to read. I'm a member of Synod, which is kind of the parliament, the government body of my church in the area, and it's our annual Synod meeting for the second half of next week. So I'm going to spend a large part of the second half of next week sitting in the cathedral, listening to reports and debates and voting on stuff, and I'm so looking forward to that. I would be looking forward to that if I didn't think I was going to be having to run out to throw up every 25 minutes. But anyway, there's that. But I've had a really good week, apart from the lying in bed and feeling crappy part. On Wednesday, I got 2 proper letters in the mail, one from a girlfriend who lives in Derby. Derby is about as far away from Melbourne as you can get without leaving Australia. It's a very long way away, and I haven't seen this friend in ages, and she's got lots of photos of the family and stuff in the letter that she sends. That was really great. I also got a card from Tara. Her handwriting is just gorgeous. Have a look at that. It's beautiful, from Japan. So that was super exciting. I haven't had that exciting a mailbag in ages. 2 proper letters on the one day. And then yesterday, a parcel unexpectedly arrived for me. And when I opened it up, it was a signed first edition of 7Es, which Jen from Today in Jen's Library found in her local store and sent to me. Jen, you are such a sweetie. I cannot tell you how excited I was. I cried for about half an hour, happy tears. And you've really made my week. So that's it for me. I hope you're all well. I'd love to hear what you guys are reading, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.